You mentioned one of the conversations we had relates to a question that was something you brought up, which is how to handle people who disagree.
Right.
And I know that you recently had an attack of disagreeers.
Yes.
I was wondering if you might speak to that and what happened and how you've handled it.
Yes. So my art has become very political, and I didn't intend for it to be that. It just kind of evolved into that, and now I'm just riding with that wave because it's me. It's really, my art is a projection of my opinions, and that's what they are, is just opinions. And so I'm very anti-Donald Trump and everything that he and mostly the entire right-wing Republican Party are. And so I've been very vocal with my art and very graphic with my art, and it's been, shared all over. And I've attacked not only Donald Trump, but Vladimir Putin and the president of Egypt and some very high-profile folks. And I had a WordPress site, which was a site that I've had back since like 2008. And so I didn't have any security on it. Because I never needed it. I didn't even think of that stuff. And so I had basically set it so that it would update WordPress automatically. And every time WordPress gets updated, it fixes basically a way for somebody to get in and attack you. And so for some reason, mine hadn't updated in like 5 versions, and the automatic updates had stopped. So I got hacked, and it was the craziest thing because I didn't notice it at first, because if you just typed in my URL, it worked. But if you searched it through Google or Bing or anything, it just turned up. It took you to my site for a second and then turned into porn. And so it was insane. So I got into the back end of my, I finally was able to get into WordPress and log in. I was having some real trouble. And so when I finally got in, I started looking at some of my code, and I had a giant swastika made out of numbers, and I had an actual death threat in there, and it was all and there was a whole bunch of basically right-wing propaganda in there.
Oh.
So it was interesting, and so what I did is rather than, and this is probably really stupid, but instead of like saving it so that I could report whoever did it, I just deleted the WordPress site and began to build this. So I just built a brand new website in 3 days. Nice. Which is much better. I built it, and it's secure, everything's good, I will not have any problems again. But, so it's for a minute there, it shook me up a little bit, But immediately, I was just like, screw you, thank you for giving me more motivation, because now I'm going to attack you even harder.
Right.
So, for a second, I was like, all right, I guess I finally made it. When, I guess this is making it when now they see me as a threat. And so it conveniently happened, and I'm not going to say it's Trump's people, but I think it's Trump's people. Because I actually, there was an interview done with me by Plaid Zebra, and they actually contacted the Trump campaign for a comment on my art, and they refused to comment. And so, conveniently after that is when I got hacked. So, I don't know. But
so, I get my follow-up question is, and I think this speaks to not only your character, but your approach to art.
Mm-hmm.
After being hacked, you could have done any number of things, but what you chose to do was just build a new site and not bother chasing down, not bother trying to report. You just cut and run, and you started over.
Yeah.
And what you made was new.
Yep.
And better.
Yep.
And why was that? Because there are so many choices you could have made. You could have gone revenge. You could have fretted. There's so many things you could have done.
Yeah.
But you did that. Why? And how does that, I guess, relate to either your process as an artist or your efficiency in producing?
Because for me, I think the most important thing was to not have my art and my message be interrupted. And that's what they did. They interrupted my message. They interrupted my middle finger to them. And so I needed to crank it back up as soon as I could. So for me, it wasn't the fact that they hacked me that they won. It was the fact that they could keep me down that would be that they won. And so, and make me scared. And that was, in fact, it was the exact opposite. They've riled me up and they made me stronger. So it, for me it wasn't, because like, I had a whole bunch of friends that were like, yeah, you need to report them and you need to send the code and they can, detect who it is. And I was just like, number one, I don't really want to deal with the FBI or any of that. I don't want to go through that. I'd rather just rebuild my site and then attack, load my attack, which is my own arsenal of art. Art is my weapon against them. So for me, it was just about stopping the message of being interrupted, getting my website back up, and getting my art back out there. And then the following week, I came right back with a piece of art attacking the Koch brothers, who are a big right-wing propaganda machine that funds a very libertarian, evil message through the Republican Party. So I just put on bigger boxing gloves.
Will there be a follow-up to Trump? Or a follow-up? Can we expect art relating to the attack?
What there's going to be is actually which I'm very excited about, which I've kind of dropped hints on. I've decided to, one of the things I'm doing this year is I love Consume, and I know I'm known for it, but there's only so many pieces of They Live that I could do without wanting to vomit looking at them. So I'm kind of to that point where I'm ready to evolve it to the next level. And so another piece of literature that's had a profound impact on me was George Orwell's Animal Farm. And if you look at it, it's very, very, very relevant to where we are today. Trump is completely this, dictator, Napoleon-like figure. And so what I've started to do is take the political spectrum and the spectrum of Hollywood and all, just all these people that surround us, from Mark Zuckerberg to Steve Jobs to, Apple and products and things like that. And what I've decided to do is kind of project it into an Animal Farm-like scenario. And so I have some new pieces coming out that are going to be very kind of like animal-centric that I'm actually also putting together pitches for a animated series for it as well. So to say that I'm coming back stronger and more fierce, yes, I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there anything? No? No? Brian? No. My final question is, when you did your own comic book, how difficult was it to not only do the inks and colors, but to then follow up with the lettering?
It was very painful. It was, and I would say the biggest part of it being so painful was that I was trying to fit my style into a medium that I wasn't comfortable in. And so trying to tell stories in panels was something that I had done a little bit, but nothing to the degree that I needed to do it here. So I would say for the first 25 pages, I was finding my way. And then I realized I started to get into a flow. Now, the big problem with it, too, is that I was doing very detailed, semi-realistic, painted illustrations. So it took me a lot longer than it would have if I just went in with, like, an inking and a coloring, like a typical comic book system. So it was definitely a challenge. Yeah, a big-time challenge. And then the lettering, I think I did okay with, but when I do it again, it will be much different. And so,
lettering is so difficult.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And it's because the fonts just are ugly. They're just ugly. And so what I realized is that I loved, my favorite comic book of all time is called Silent Interlude, which is a G.I. Joe comic, which involves no words at all. And it's about Snake Eyes breaking into Cobra's lair to rescue Scarlet from Storm Shadow. And so it's this amazing adventure and there's not a word in it. And so for me, that was always the epitome of what a good comic book would be. Mobius, Jodorowsky did a comic book called, was it The Cat? Yeah. The Cat, yeah. They loved it too. And it's basically this bizarre bizarre story that has no words. And so for me, I was really determined, and I still am determined, to make comics that don't have that much lettering in it. The art tells the story. You don't need, like, storyboards, you know. You don't. A good comic could be without words, and you could tell what it is and what it's saying, and the message and the story. So for me, that's kind of the way I approach comics. I just try to keep words out as much as possible.
Thank you.
So, yeah, no worries.
I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
I know we're all going to get a lot out of it,
Thank
so it's a real pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
for having me here.
have a great night. Thank you.